We're on. What's going on, guys? Cruzin Podcast. We're back. Another episode. Today we're going to talk about Elvis. We saw the movie last night. We're a little late on it, but I really felt like it was worth talking about, you know? We went deep into like the Elvis like archives, you know? We went on YouTube just looking up a bunch of stuff because the story really is fascinating, and we want to talk about the movie starring Austin Butler, which I kind of just want to start out saying, like, he does such a good job, man. Like,
yeah, he was
like
amazing.
He's great. And watching his interviews and stuff, and I mean, 2 years committed to the role, you know, and playing the guitar, the singing. You know, we saw some of the pre-production like test footage of him, you know, singing in front of the director and some of the people, and performing with the guitar, and like he literally just allowed himself to become Elvis, and he does such a good job, you know, and that it's a very hard role to do, because, you know, everybody was saying this. Everybody was kind of worried of him. When you think of Elvis, they say it's like kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, like how do you play them without being like a caricature of them, you know, without impersonating them, you know, like when, like, you know, with Elvis is very like, oh, thank you, and it becomes like kind of comic-y. But he nailed it. Like, it just felt like it was just him. I just felt like he was Elvis, you know, and especially throughout the whole movie, especially at the end of the movie, you kind of forget, like, you don't, like, you just accept that he's Elvis, you know. And then when you see real footage, you're like, oh shit, like, you can't even, like, it's really spot on. It's really good. And I think like the second half of this movie is like really like just top notch. Like, we got to really see Austin just full on you know, play this character, and the performances, and I think the movie worked best when it slowed down and let us just be with Elvis and be in this world. And that's one thing I know, like the first hour of this, I wasn't in it. I think we were kind of looking at each other some points, like
it was weird.
It was just nonstop, like a little too fast paced, where I couldn't keep up, and like I just wanted the movie it wasn't probably, I think it was like 40 minutes or maybe even an hour. I would say, like, let's say 40 minutes until the movie actually stopped and slowed down, and we finally had a normal scene. And it was when he was talking to his parents about wanting to pursue his music career and stuff. That was the first time where I was like, oh, like, finally the movie just stopped for a second.
Yeah, but that's the beginning though. That's not
maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah,
because this is a long movie, so I can't really tell. I would say 30-40 minutes. At least that's what it felt like, because there's so much going on. For me,
I feel like that third act.
Yeah, the second half, I think it's
like that was what really made me like love the movie.
Yeah,
because that first like hour,
I would say
and
first half,
like that hour and 20 minutes.
It was too nonstop.
It was just like, what is this? Like,
it was too nonstop.
Because with the modern music, I didn't like that modern music.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Besides the pacing was very, because the movie is from the perspective of his manager, Colonel Parker. And I like the idea of that, you know, of because how shitty this manager was and how, you know, manipulative he was and stuff. I wasn't a fan of Tom Hanks playing him. I think it was
I don't know what it was. Like,
he was too cartoony.
I don't know. Yeah, like Tom Hanks for me, like I don't know why. Like, there was times where I would laugh when I would see him.
Because he was very cartoony.
Like, I know he felt very like a Disney villain.
Like a Disney villain. Like, yes, this is me.
Hello, Mr. Presley.
It was like, it was a little comic booky.
I felt like, and it's crazy because it's Tom Hanks, but I feel
it was a little cartoony.
I feel like they
could have got someone else.
Yeah, they should have got someone, because I don't know why.
Especially
I don't know what
seeing
it was.
real footage of the actual Tom Parker. I was like, man, because like Tom Hanks, it was a little cartoony, like Mr. Presley, and then like the narrations kind of bothered me after a while, because and then
with the little cigar.
Yeah, it felt like I was watching like a Disney film. You know,
he felt like that. I don't know what it was. Like he just felt like a Disney villain. Like
it felt like a Disney movie because like
or
the
even,
camera movement,
or even like the Space Jam villain, like the little guy with the cigar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he felt like
because like the camera work and it's like him in the casino and like oh yes and then or like when Elvis is like it's a serious scene and then it's like him narrating. He's like or so he thought, and I was like, all right, like this is a little too much. Like so,
you know
that didn't work for me.
I think what it was is that I feel like they should have put a little bit more makeup on him because they just gave him a double chin. It's like Tom Hanks with a double
and like
chin,
the big nose.
Like I feel like maybe you trying to like because you can transform someone. To
yeah.
And
I think it was just
no, but I feel like because if you look him in the movie, it's just like oh they just gave Tom Hanks a fat suit and a double chin.
Barstool Sports said a joke about that. Like they said, Elvis is great. Like Tom Hanks with a fat suit almost ruins it. And I kind of like at first I was like, oh, like they're just being funny, but I kind of get it. Like the first hour of this movie, mind you, I really liked the movie because again, that second half, I was like, I wish we just got more of that because I would say a little over the first half, I would say was just nonstop. And I just wanted it to slow down to give us Elvis because Austin Butler is so good. I just wanted them to let us have him.
Showcase him more.
Like utilize him more. And they did the second half. They really did. But then the use of like modern music, like one of the artists in those songs was like Doja Cat or something like that.
Oh my God.
So like, why are he's on Beale Street meeting, like with the other like blues music people and like because that was his thing and that was awesome. But then like they're playing modern rap music.
Oh yeah, like
and I'm like, why?
I'm gonna get it.
And the movie really lost me. The movie really lost me there.
Why are you doing this?
I'm telling you, like the first hour of this movie, I was like, oh no, like what is this? Like it lost me.
And it's crazy because then we found out the director of this is he had done like Great Gatsby.
Yeah, and
it's
had
very similar
like
in style.
It overpowers it for me a lot. And I think when the movie slows down,
because even they had like the odd use of CG.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like when the movie slows down and lets us just be with the characters and let us be in that moment of what he's going through, it works really well. And I think the best parts were when they went into the TV special and the international.
I think the movie that did it best was Rocky Man. I think Rocky Man, like it really like. Because like and you went to play his like big songs, but it was sort of like of his mindset where he was.
No, yeah, it was well balanced. It was well balanced.
I feel like Elvis. It was just like I don't know.
The second half did it really well.
No, that second half is what the whole movie should have.
For me, it saved the movie. For me, because that first
first hour and the way it kept like
it was too much. I was like
like the part that I started laughing. Was I think it was like in the beginning. I don't even know, but it was a part of Tom Hanks walking around the casino, but he's like in the gown.
Because it's like it's not real,
it's
right?
Not real.
It's him in the gown from the hospital gown and walking, and I was like, and it was very like fantasy. It was too like fantasy like, and I get what they're going for, but I was like,
but the thing is,
like a Disney movie,
like the Great Gatsby, like it was very similar. Like it's just like that, and
I just wish it toned it down a little bit, because. Man, Austin Butler's so good in this.
Yeah,
and everybody's good in this. I didn't like Tom Hanks in it, but
because I don't know what it was. I think because
it was too cartoony.
I think it was just it's Tom Hanks in a fat suit.
Even his acting though was very cartoony.
Yeah,
but Austin Butler's amazing. I think the second half really saves the movie, and I think the ending ends so well. The ending is really great. Like I was like, wow. Like why couldn't the whole movie be like this?
Yeah, the movie.
I wish
the movie
is a little bit more.
Is a little long. The movie's a little like if you can trim like 20, 30 minutes.
I don't think it's the length that hurts it. I think it's the style that hurts it.
But not only the style, but I feel like if you can trim down that first hour or so, like if you can just trim it down so we can get to that third act.
But that's what I'm saying. If maybe that first hour was done differently,
or that too.
Like if it was if they slowed it down and let us be with the characters more, and take out some of the cartoony stuff,
because it was such montage. It was like a montage. I was like,
maybe we could have trimmed that down, but also just slowed it down, because the movie works best when it slows down, because Austin Butler, you get to see him as Elvis, and you get to know Elvis a little bit more, and that was the best parts. The best parts when the movie was staying in a certain period, and we were understanding what was going on, and you see the back and forth, and that's when it worked best for me, because that first hour, I remember being like, oh, this is going to be the whole... I thought it was just the intro, you know how the intro to speed things up, but we were like an hour in, I was like, oh, this is the whole movie. The whole movie's just like this. It just felt like one like long highlight reel for at least the first hour. And then it slowed down, and then we got to sit with, you know, the conflict with the TV special and the International Hotel. Like that right there, that second half, I was like, this is so good, because we got to see Austin Butler really as the character, you know. I still thought Tom Hanks was a little cartoony, but whatever. But man, I mean, the way Austin Butler nailed the mannerisms, the movement, the dancing, the singing, just everything down to the T, you know. And there's comparison videos back and forth of you see the real Elvis and him, and you see and he nailed it. He nailed it. He did so good, man. He did so good, and I really enjoyed it. And again, that second half saves it for me. It really does, because the first hour I remember looking at you, I was like, what is this? Especially when the modern music was kicking in, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Why would you put...
Because if you're going to make a biopic like this, I want to be in that period. What was it like during...
Yeah,
and I loved when it was... when the movie stayed on the topic of, the new Elvis, and no, you can't do these dances anymore, and because you'll get arrested. Again, I like that. Like, stay on that, you know? And then when he starts performing the Trouble song, you know, and he like... That was great. I just hated when we would steer away from Elvis' performance to go into like Tom Hanks narrating, and then and my goodness, I saw, and then it goes back to Elvis. Like, I wish they kind of just cut that out and just stuck with him. You know, like in Rocketman, I think does this really well. When he's performing, we're like feeling what it was like in that performance, and it was the whole song. And I wish we kind of got that here, which we do towards the end. But like the Trouble song and stuff like that, I was like, damn, like I would have liked to stick with that more. But then the movie, like, I'm enjoying Elvis, and then it just cuts to something else, and then a whole CG sequence of the map, and then this, and then it's like Tom Hanks with the cigar, and then it goes back to him performing again. I was like, can we just stay on him, you know? And I think it was similar to like the part when he had to sing to the hound dog, the hound dog. They didn't even show it. I was like, I would have loved the moment of what was it like in that moment for him having to perform it, and it threw him off. But they just cut. I was like, so you're gonna cut that? You know, like it was just like those things hurt the movie for me, and the best parts are when it slows down, you know. And I really enjoyed it because the second half finally kind of just settles down a little bit.
Yeah. But
I wish the movie took itself a little bit more. I wish the way it was done was less fantasy-like and more grounded, because the whole, like, how many times did we see the camera floating through Vegas into the hotel through the window?
Yeah.
It was a little much.
It kept using the same shot multiple times.
It was a little redundant, because there's a shot towards later in the movie where Elvis is at his like a lower point. He's singing in the piano, and it's all dark, you know, and he's singing that lonely song, something lonely, and him kind of realizing that he felt stuck but it was such a good scene. But I feel like it was ruined because most of the song, it's like the camera like going through the hotel, and then, it's Tom Hanks, and then it's flying this way. I wish it just stuck, you know, like kind of something like La La Land, where the camera's just on him and letting him perform. I think Rocketman does the same thing. The camera's just on him, because like the way it was shot, like the way it was lit was really like nice. But by the time we do get to that part, it's like the ending, but it's really well done. But everything before that, you know, I just wish it was crafted in that way a little bit more. Like, just let us be with him.
Yeah,
a little bit more grounded, you know.
Yeah, I mean, some people like that style, you know what I mean? Some people.
Yeah, and I think I really think they do it because they know it's a biopic, and it's like, but we need to keep people engaged at all times, you know, like their attention spans.
And to Elvis,
I feel like that's what it is, but I don't know. To me, it didn't work. But I still really enjoyed the movie. Like, that was like, it's tough to say because that's like the first half of it. You know, the first half I was almost completely checked out.
The modern music, I was like, why?
I was aware of how annoyed I was.
Because that part when he fights with his mom, he leaves, and he's driving, and my God, that CGI,
very cartoony,
and then with the modern music comes out, what is it? The song,
it was like literally rap music, like hip hop music. I was like,
I'm gonna go and get it. I'm gonna go and get it.
Yeah.
It was like, dun, dun.
It was like this hype music,
and I was like, huh? I was like, why?
That threw me off. Like, I want to be in that period.
Because if anything, you put the music that he was listening to, like you heard as a kid from those,
the blues music. When they used the
jazz.
blues music, like even like the beginning of when we were learning on when he was about to go on stage for the first time, it was that like back and forth montage of him as a kid listening to blues music for the first time in the gospel as a kid, and then like that. Back and forth of him as a kid and the juxtaposition of him older about to perform the song for the first time on stage in the carnival and him being nervous, but then it was that back and forth, like the style worked in that moment because it was him listening to the blues music for the first time and how it influenced him as a kid, but then it's going back and forth with him being nervous and about to perform for the first time, and the back and forth of that was cool because it's music that he was influenced by. And it was showing him as a kid and how that prepped him for where he is now and him nervous, and then he just lets it all out. That was good. But then when you have him like driving with like hip hop music and all that, I was like, all right, like what is this? You know? Yeah. So I wish the style worked at times, you know, like when he performs for the first time, I think the style worked really well there.
Yeah.
Like the women going crazy and like that was a lot of fun. And I liked when the movie had fun with his performances because that's what it felt like. But the style throughout the story just I felt like was hurting it. Like it was like, okay, like here's a cool moment of like a period of his life, and then it's like, and we're transforming, and like the map, and then like Tom Hanks smoking a cigar, and then now we're 5 years later or 2 years later, and now it's something else. But then we're only he gets sent off in the military, but we're only here for one scene. Now we're over here. I was like, the time jumps are very. You can get lost a little bit.
Yeah, because wait, what year are we in?
Yeah,
like what?
And
I how long has it been?
And that's why I meant like the length didn't bother me because I'll take a 3 hour of this if it was like the style during the concerts and stuff. I get it, that works. But I like if it's 3 hours of like being with Elvis and really getting to know him and like what the second half was. If we got 3 hours of that, I'd call it a freaking masterpiece, because even the ending like was so good. I was like, wow, okay, like this saved the movie for me, So a lot of people like that style, but for me, it felt a little too much. But I did like it. I really enjoyed it, and the story of Elvis and this manager, Colonel Parker, and
that's crazy. It's a crazy story,
and it's mostly pretty accurate.
Yeah,
we looked up a lot of. I we went like on an Elvis because it really does make you want to go and learn more about. I mean, man, he's one of the biggest solo artists of all time, and you in the movie you see how big he was, and he had one of the biggest live streams on television for an artist. It was like 1.56 billion, and how big he was, and that was really cool, and it makes you want to learn more, and it's mostly accurate, like little tiny things that they did in the movie just to dramatize it a little bit more. But
like when he sings that song,
or when he meets Elvis, when Parker meets Elvis for the first time, like he was already like a talent manager. He wasn't working in the car, like little stuff like that. Or one of the performances or something, the TV special.
Yeah, when he sings that dream one, If You Can Dream. And like it wasn't like after
the shooting didn't happen during the rehearsal or something.
It was like months.
Yeah,
later.
It had happened that year.
But I see why they did like that because it makes the song more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like little things.
But
or the Christmas set was never built.
Just to dramatize a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it though.
And like he didn't fire him. Like that was more like a maybe. But like he didn't fire him on stage.
Yeah. No.
Like none of that.
No. But I really enjoyed it. Austin Butler again. I mean,
he
massive
was amazing.
standout. I mean, and
he's gonna get the Oscar.
He's gonna do big things.
I think he's gonna get the Oscar.
And the movie is worth talking about it. That's why even though we were late, I wanted to. We are gonna talk about like Thor: Love and Thunder probably tomorrow, but I wasn't in a rush to talk about that honestly. But after watching this one, I was like, you know what, man? Like, I want to do like a Elvis podcast, because the movie was really good. Obviously we had those issues with it where I really at one point when the rap music came on for the second time in a row, I was like, I'm checked out. I was literally checked out,
and I'm glad,
then it slowly got
and then I'm glad that
out of
after that second time it stopped,
and then it slowed down and it got better because that first half I was like, oh, like I'm checked out. Like I was not in this movie at all. I remember we would kind of look at each other like, what is going on?
The rap music just didn't make sense.
Yeah, and
it didn't. Like I didn't have a problem with them mixing like some of Elvis songs with a modern singer. Like
I noticed that. Yeah,
like that was fine, but as long as it's still like the same music in that like
in that world. I want to be in that world.
Yeah, because or even when that guy when he was at that club, was it Club Mandy or when that guy was singing that guy was singing going crazy. You know what I mean? Like it was fun to watch that. Like just him
because I want to be in that world. What was the music like during this period? What was his influences?
Because I didn't have a problem with them mixing with like with that jazz or blues music.
That was great because it's in that time period.
But when you put modern rappers and you're making out modern,
that's stupid.
It's dumb.
That's stupid. But I loved hearing the music that he was influenced by in that world and the storylines of because at that time segregation was still like a thing but seeing where he was and all that all that was great.
And I wanted more of the earlier Elvis, like just like. He almost went to jail, like how they want to put him in jail for dancing.
Yeah, all that controversy. I loved seeing the controversy behind him. Yeah, he's like Footloose.
Can't dance.
Because seeing him perform too was a lot of fun. Like the movie
because when you first see him on stage and he was like, oh, like why are they like screaming at me for?
Yeah, that was fun.
Because it's the wiggle.
It's the wiggle.
Like, oh, I was like, all right.
And the movie, what I love, like that's why I want to be in those periods more because. You start to understand what makes that style so fun. But I did like seeing, like understanding what made that kind of music and performance so special at that time. Like the craziness of it, like throwing your leg up on the piano and like going crazy, going up to the people with the wiggle and like seeing how much fun it is.
Yeah, threw his leg up on the piano.
No. But when he was watching at the club, when he went to the club.
Oh.
The blues club. And the guy, the young guy was performing and he was going crazy and he was seeing how fun that was, like the influence from that.
Yeah.
And then him applying that and then people, like, I don't know, just understanding what made that so fun, just like interacting with the crowd and just going crazy because that was never done before. And I really liked when the way the movie showcased that, but that was showcased through the actual music of that time, And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I think the ending was great. I think that that transition of and when it started to show the real footage, I thought that was so well done. Like it was very impactful, and I really enjoyed it. I had those issues with it. I didn't like Tom Hanks as the character, but I think the concept of it was really cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done the whole like Disney like narration. It was a little over the top at times.
Yeah.
I don't mind it in the beginning and then like a little bit throughout, but. Literally, like, Elvis will say a line, and then it's, like, Tom Hanks, like, off-screen being like, or so he thought. It's like, okay.
Well, Mr. Presley.
Yeah, it was a little cartoony, but I enjoyed it, man, and everything was mostly pretty accurate, and when you watch the actual footage, because that was cool, like, watching the movie and then, watching a bunch of the actual footage, like, in the airport, there's footage of that, and how spot on that is, or his performances on the live television shows, or even seeing one of the final interviews of Elvis and seeing him kind of out of it, and watching the movie and like learning and you see the actual footage, you're like, damn, like you can, they did really well with it. It's always very interesting when you can actually study the real footage and kind of like try to understand like what it was like for him at that time,
Yeah.
He was trapped. Like he was literally trapped and the pills, and you can tell he was out of it, you know. So that was really cool to see, and
well, not.
No, like it's really interesting to see the back and forth. Yeah, it's really interesting, you know. Like seeing that's history, you know. And he died at 42 years old. It's young, man. It's young. And when you hear the story, because we started watching more clips and stuff, so like seeing the stories of his final days. This is not in the movie, but just kind of like stuff that we watched, you know, where I think it was like a brother-in-law or like a friend or something. I think it was his brother, stepbrother or brother-in-law, something like that. On like the last time he talked to him, like he kind of seemed like he was reading a lot, like religious books, spiritual books and stuff like that. And telling him like, oh, the next time, like he gave him a hug, he wanted him to sit with him. And it seemed like he knew he was going to die. Because he told him, oh, hey, I love you, whatever. And they talked a little bit. He gave him a hug. And then he said, like, the next time you see me, I'll be on a jet flying high or something like that. And then it was like, I think a couple days later or something, they found him dead in the bathroom. So just hearing a lot of these different things is like, I think it's like if he knew what was happening to his body. And, you know, it's just really interesting. It's really, really interesting. And what I like is the movie kind of is bringing it out there and made me want to learn more, you know, because I love Elvis. Like I love his music. I always listen to his music. Yeah. But it's like, oh, that's all I know. But I didn't know the real story behind it, you know. And I thought that was really cool. And yeah, man. I mean, watch it if you haven't. It's a good watch. The first hour for me, like that first chunk, was hard to go through. But again, Austin Butler is what kept drawing me back in, you know? Like, even though the movie was losing me, I was like, what made me want to keep watching was Austin Butler's performance. Yeah. Because when they would stop and show us how his performance was, I was drawn in again. But then the movie would throw me off from its style, you know? But yeah, man, really, really cool stuff. And I think this is going to be a breakout for Austin Butler, obviously. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in Dune Part 2, and I think we're going to see him in a lot more stuff, so good for him. I mean, is there anything else that we didn't really... We kind of nailed it, like the Tom Hanks didn't work for us. Mr. Presley, you know, it was very cartoony.
They should have gotten someone else.
But, man, when it gets into the TV special, the international hotel stuff, and just all that was really, really interesting and really good. It was really well done. Yeah. But it's crazy how universally loved he was. Like he was like he still is the biggest solo recording artist of all time. You know, and kind of learning this story was really cool because I didn't know that. I didn't know any of this. I saw the movie and I was like, it made me want to research more. I want to watch like documentaries and stuff if they have any. But yeah, I mean that's anything else? Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
Elvis, really, really good.
That was a great movie.
Let us know, guys. What did you think of Elvis? Did you enjoy it? Did you watch it yet? Let us know in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy our reviews and stuff like that. And we will be talking about Thor: Love and Thunder on the next podcast. We're gonna have a special guest on and to talk about it, just Thor and like Marvel in general. We weren't in a rush to really talk about it, honestly. We wanted to give it some time, get a guest on, and get their thoughts as well. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, for listening, and to the next one. Goodbye.